It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Burning.
I'm doing okay.
Hope everybody out there is doing all right. And what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I'm gonna get in trouble. So last week we were talking, well, actually for the last couple of weeks we've been talking about Beware the Blob. So I watched it this week. And because I'm fairly certain we're never really going to talk about this on the show, I wanted to throw out some stuff about this movie. It is, I found it interesting. It's very weird. It's a very weird movie. I mean, and feel free to interject whenever you want here, Les, because I know you've seen it. I had a real hard time figuring out whether this was intended to be a sequel or a remake. It just, I mean, it was set up, the story, it was set up like a sequel, but boy, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the original, but it sure seemed to hit a lot of similar points to the original. It didn't really seem to stray very far from the story. It just, and it was, the flow of it was just very weird. I never got the sense that it was a horror movie at all. And I think Les even mentioned this last week. It really just didn't feel like a horror movie at any point. I mean, even when it's like killing people, it just really didn't seem. I mean, there was never any scariness at all. I mean, I still can't tell if it was meant to be like a campy version. There seemed to be some attempts at humor, but nothing that really landed. It was, I mean, allegedly Larry Hagman had some experience directing episodes of I Dream of Jeannie before this. If that's the case, then the only thing I can figure is that he had a very different vision for this movie than the producers did. And so that he was out there just, when he was shooting stuff, he was just sort of trying to get away with whatever he could. I mean, the whole thing seemed to have a very backhanded vibe to it. It was very, very weird. It's also interesting to see some of the faces. I mean, like the star of the show. And this was a kind of a really, I think this was more a weird timing thing than anything else. The guy who played Bobby was Robert Walker, who we talked about passed away recently.
Yeah.
There was actually, funny, there was another Star Trek familiar face. The sheriff was played by Richard Webb. And you're not necessarily going to recognize the name, but it was one of those deals where I'm like, I know that voice. It was the guy who played Ben Finney on the episode of Star Trek, which also starred Elisha Cook. With the one where Kirk was on trial. He was on trial for the murder of Ben Finney. Spoiler alert. Ben Finney didn't really die in that, but yeah, it was the same guy. And it was like one of those deals where you never, I mean, he's on screen for like 10 minutes before you can get a good look at his face. It's very weird. I mean, admittedly, he's not like a huge star in I mean, he's there throughout the whole thing, but it never got, the camera never got like a good look at his face for a while. And so I'm hearing his voice going, man, that looks familiar. I wish he would turn his head just a little bit so I could see his face. And then I saw his face. I'm like, that guy. I know who that is. And then
I know
there's,
him.
yeah, I know who that is. That voice sounded familiar the whole time. And then Dick Van Patten as the Scoutmaster who apparently the Blob ate off screen because he just sort of stopped showing up in the movie after a while. He's in like 3 scenes early in the movie, and then he's not there anymore. I mean, and he's like supposedly out camping with these Boy Scouts, and the last time we see him is like 20 minutes into the movie or something. They're out in the woods with these kids, and then you don't see any of the kids show up like an hour later in the movie. They show up at the bowling alley at the end for some reason. Nobody knows why. And the Scoutmaster, and one of them says something about what happened to the Scoutmaster, and that's it. But anyway, so yeah, it's weird crap like that. It just, as a movie, it doesn't make any sense at all. And it certainly doesn't make any sense as a Blob or sequel, but it's very weird.
The first one was kind of weird.
I can't even say it was bad. It just, I mean, it just kind of wasn't anything. It was very, I don't know. I felt the need to ramble about it a little bit. I don't know.
It was very disconnected.
Yeah, and it didn't. Yeah, it was like it had a like a list of these tiny little stories that it wanted to tell, these characters that it wanted to bring in, and there was like no connection between them at all. They were just, I mean, they were connected by the tape that held the film together. That was the only connection between these characters.
Yep.
I don't know if I could recommend anybody actually watch it. That's part of why I'm sort of ranting about it now, is because I don't want to make Tom and Liz watch this movie. I mean, I can't say
I think I've seen it.
I can't say I'm upset that I watched it. I'm kind of glad I watched it, but it was certainly a lesson in how not to make a movie.
I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I was
Go
just
ahead.
saying I couldn't remember completely, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this one too. There used to be a channel, like way back when there was only like 20, but there used to be a channel that real late at night they would play movies like this, Attack of the Killer Clowns, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, that kind of stuff. So I've seen a lot of these. Like when I rewatched The Blob instead of The Black Hole, it was like I remember this, but I don't remember all of it. So, but I think that's one that I remember that it was just kind of, it fit into that category with the Killer Tomatoes and Killer Clowns.
Yeah, it was just very weird.
Yeah.
Definitely don't treat it as a catharsis for you, because it misses so far.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, it's got a bunch of these tiny little story elements, but the movie doesn't really seem to have a story. And that's probably because none of them connect at all. I mean,
Right.
there's some it's like they're trying to be funny and failing miserably.
Miserably.
I mean, the whole scene with like in the barbershop, by itself and in a different movie, that would be a weirdly funny scene. But it doesn't have any bearing on the movie.
True.
It's funny. I mean, not surprisingly, given that it basically stars Shelley Berman, who's a well-known comedian at the time. But it just doesn't fit anything. It's almost like you spend this whole movie watching basically all these hippies running around doing stuff around this disaster that's going on, and then all of a sudden one of them randomly walks into a barbershop and deals with this very interesting barber. But the movie's not about hippies. It's got hippie looking people in it. It's got a couple of stoners, and it's got some wild party stuff, and then it's got this fairly responsible couple who are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Yeah, and yeah. It was like somebody got really high and watched The Blob and thought, hey, I'm going to make a sequel to this. And I'm not going to say whether it was Larry Hagman or the screenwriters or the producers or what, but I think all of those three groups of people had very different trips when they got high and watched The Blob, because man, it does
Maybe
not.
that's what it is. It's one of those you have to be high to watch.
Maybe.
You'd be like, this is genius.
This is hilarious, right? I know. No. No thanks.
No, there's no fear of calling it a genius movie.
Oh no.
Right.
No. Okay, anyway, I'm done.
Well, I've been overloading myself on Christmas movies. Yay.
Oh boy. Somebody's got to, I guess.
Right. Well, Disney's got some pretty cool stuff on Disney Plus right now. Although I will say one thing, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I hope their babies are born ugly. Healthy, but ugly. Disney, you've been cursed. And that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
Well, they totally kicked us fans in the teeth this week, so it was, there may have been a few tears, so like I said, ugly babies for the rest of their lives. But on Showtime, they have, they just released the new, I guess, is it a mockuseries when it's music? But it's about corn. And it's more about Brian Head than it is about Korn. And it's kind of interesting because I remember, Korn was one of my favorite bands. The first time I ever saw them, they were like an opening band. Nobody knew who they were. And I don't know, Korn has a sound to them that if first three bars comes on the radio, you automatically know who they are. I mean, you could be out in the middle of a crowded place and you could hear just a glimpse of the song and you know who it is. And part of that sound is because of Brian. He was the guitarist, and it made a very distinct, I think after he left the band, they had 4 other guitarists that tried to even do half of what he did, and they just never got that sound that he gave to Korn, that distinct, that made Korn. So it was kind of interesting to watch his, I guess, growth. And I never realized that, like, at the top of their prime and stuff, he found out that his wife was at home cheating on him, but they had their baby girl there. So he immediately left from wherever he was at, went and got his kid, and from then on, she was with him, But when I was buying CDs and that kind of thing, you never think about the behind the scenes. And like for Jenna, his daughter, the things that it did to her, I mean, totally messed her up. It's got to be hard to have a rock star for a dad, You don't really fit in with the normal kids because he's on the road all the time and you're on the road all the time. And, so it kind of shows the toll that it took on her and kind of his thought process behind leaving the band and then later on coming back to the band. And I'll always have a difference of opinion on why, I won't even throw it out there, but I always thought there was a different reason he got into Christian music and then stepped back into Korn. But it was kind of interesting to hear him explain some of that.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, on both sides of the fence, when he left Korn, you had the metalheads going, dude, fuck you. What the hell are you doing? And then you had on the Christian side, people were like, huh. Haha.
Who is this guy again?
Right. Do we embrace a guy who's been singing about drugs and sex and alcohol? I mean, it took him a while to even be trusted, which is sad in a Christian community, but it took him a while to even get to the point where they're like, oh, okay, he's living for God, which nobody should ever have to judge your walk with God. And it's sad when you're in a public light like he was. And he had it from all sides, you know. So when he stepped back out of the Christian world, back into corn, you know, of course, then you have the Christians who are like, you duped us. You totally, you came in, you took our money, and you duped us, you know, which, I don't know, watching the documentary, I think that he missed the fame. He went from living in a house with, you know, this waterfall pool to wondering how he was going to pay his cell phone bill. So, you know, you sometimes you got to make tough choices, and you got to do what's best for you. And I think he really did what was best for his daughter. I mean, from the day he picked her up, he may not have been the, you know, role model father or anything else, but everything he did was for her. You know, whether it was good or bad, everything was always with her in mind. So you can't down a man for trying, you know. But it's like I said, it's very interesting. And I said it's something I've wondered about for a while, especially when he did leave his Christian label. I didn't realize that the Christian label pretty much buckled underneath itself. And so yeah, that it was pretty cool. Like I said, if you liked Korn, it's a pretty good. If you ever wondered why, it's a pretty good little, you know, documentary there. And like I said, it just came out on Showtime. I think they even have it on their on demand. So, but one other thing, I've talked about him a lot because he does comic books right now, but My Chemical Romance had their reunion tour Friday night. And oh my God, it was so amazing. One of the YouTubers that I watch, she was able to get tickets, and she's like, and I know how, I mean, this concert sold out in 4 minutes. As soon as they announced tickets, 4 minutes later, every single seat was gone. So only tour over here that they're doing, they'll hit Australia, New Zealand, I think China, and one other place. So they're hitting the major continents, and that's it. So she recorded the whole entire show from the time he took stage to the very last goodbye. It was, oh my God. And it was funny because Jared looks totally different than what he used to, but, you know, it's Jared. But he said, we didn't know if this was going to happen, so I want to thank you guys for showing up. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, you sold out this show in 4 minutes. There were so many of us who wanted to go, who couldn't get tickets to go, and you didn't think anybody would show up. You know?
Thinking if it's sold out in 4 minutes, people are going to show up whether they say the show's on or not.
Right.
I mean, come on, yeah, you can cancel the show. That crowd's going to show up anyway.
Yeah.
And they just hang out or something.
Well, there was a large amount of people who were waiting because general admission, you know, you get the best seat you get whenever, you know, whatever you get. So they camped out for a good spot. They went out there and they handed out waters. They handed out blankets. You know, they handed out food. I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, how many bands themselves didn't send a manager or a little gopher boy? How many bands themselves would actually go out there and hand out stuff to their fans like that, you know? So it was like, oh, that's so sweet. But I had a hard time with a few of the songs that they played because I don't want to get too far off on this, but one of the last albums that they recorded together, Mikey, who is also in comic books now, they rented a house to record in, and both of them swear to God that the house was haunted. They don't know, not like ghosts and moving stuff, but there was just like this vibe that it was bad, you know, like something really bad had happened there. Well, Mikey at this time was fighting a mental disorder, and Jared started having night tremors. Is that what night terrors?
Night terrors.
Night terrors.
You wake up screaming and shit like that. Yeah.
Yep. Well, two of their songs that they recorded at this time kind of went into that. One of them, Sleep, where he was like, I just want to close my eyes and just go to sleep, but you can't because you're dead if you do, or you're a zombie if you stay awake. So it's kind of the struggle he had there. But then there was also a song how, not in a in-your-face kind of way, but more implied of how he was watching his brother basically lose his mind. And that's when, after they got through recording that and stuff, it was just like, man, we got to quit. We got to, it's not good mentally for us. We need to find a better place before we do this again. So they all kind of went their separate ways. So to hear them play those songs, I mean, for one, it was amazing. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how hard do you think it is for him to sing about that? Of course, everybody wanted to hear the song because it was a hit. It was popular. But mentally, how hard do you think it was for him to relive his brother going crazy and night terrors, for a fan? So if you like MCR, I think it's Diet Shampoo on YouTube, has the whole concert, like I said, front to the end. I've watched it quite a few times now.
Before it gets taken off.
Right. But, that was one weird thing about it. They allowed, I think it was Rock Sound, to come in because I didn't know that she was streaming, and Rock Sound was there, and they would stream like the first minute and a half, 2 minutes of the song. And MCR was okay with that. They were okay with video cameras. Most of the normal stuff that you get at concerts where they're like, don't bring this, no cameras, none of this. They were like, we don't care, I think this was totally done for the fans, and they don't care. I've even seen him, some of the fan, videos and stuff, they've retweeted them, and so that even makes me feel better about the show. For them, it wasn't a paycheck. This was, let's give our fans a little taste of what they've been asking us for. We're in different places in our life right now. I mean, God, he's got Doom Patrol going on, Young Animals, the Netflix series, Umbrella Academy. I mean, he's got so much going on that it would be hard for him to tour and do what they used to do, And he ain't as young as he used to be. And I think they realize that too. And that's why they're doing it one show in these different locations, and that's it. I mean, I love Motley Crue and Poison, but when you see them up on stage at some of their reunion shows, it's like, ooh. Ooh, you've really let yourself go there.
Ouch.
I'm sorry, but it's like, oh my God.
That's what happens when they take the makeup off.
Right. Well, and then you have, someone like Vince Neil, who was Mr. Pretty Boy and was so vain and conceited, and then you see him look like he looks today, and it's kind of like, where did that conceitedness go? So I'm not trying to shame anyone. It's just kind of funny when karma pulls its bus around.
Karma has a funny sense of humor.
Oh, she does.
Well, you don't party as hard as they do year in, year out, and not come out unscathed.
Right. Totally true. I mean, look at Keith Richards.
Do we have to?
Wow.
I would be okay not ever having to look at Keith Richards again. That would be fine.
But then you have people like Sammy Hagar. Oh my God, has he even aged a day? But he was also one of the ones that wasn't all into drinking, and well, he was into drinking, but he wasn't into all the drugs and everything else that all of them were, So maybe that's why.
He's been considered the Dorian Gray of rock and roll.
I mean, who's Dorian Gray?
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead, Google that.
So you can't look at his album covers then, I guess.
That's right. Dorian Gray is the character that doesn't age.
Ah.
The picture of him in his back room does age, and he's fighting to stay young.
Huh.
Right. The name of the book is The Picture of Dorian Gray. It is by Oscar Wilde.
I don't think I've heard of that one. I'll have to check that out.
It's a pretty good book, really.
It sounds like it'd be interesting.
It's even a fairly short book, if I remember correctly. But
Yes, it is.
I'm surprised they didn't make us read that one in school.
yeah, you're in Texas. Oscar Wilde was controversial. 100 years ago, Oscar Wilde was controversial. So
Yeah. And it had to be on the bluebonnet list.
it was. Oscar Wilde never made the friggin' bluebonnet list, I assure you.
I thought there was one.
No,
remember
that would be the banned list.
Yeah.
That's a different list.
When they finally let us read one. Don't tell anyone. Shh. I thought there was one that they made us read of his in school. Yeah, the Canterville Ghosts. I believe, yeah.
That's Oscar Wilde? Okay.
Wasn't it?
I don't know.
I said I'm reaching back, so I could be wrong. Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, I don't see anything here that would have been we would have read in Texas.
Wouldn't have made the bluebonnet list.
No. Oscar Wilde's very unlikely to make that list because that was a lot of his stuff was. Well, it's not so much that his writing was controversial. I mean, although some of it probably was, but he as a person was controversial.
His lifestyle was much in question.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. See, and I think when someone possesses a certain talent, I don't know. I hate to bring up my Supernatural boys, but
No, you don't.
like,
You love bringing up your Supernatural boys.
well, when Jared went to jail, everybody was like, "Oh, he needs to make a statement." No, he doesn't. It's none of your goddamn business. I mean, why does everybody feel entitled to have to explain themselves, or, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you do you, and who cares? You know, it's none of your business. Did you go bail him out? I mean, did he fart in your Cheerios? I mean, no, it has nothing to do with you. You're not owed anything. You're not owed a statement. You shouldn't have to defend yourself. It's nobody's business, you know?
Okay, guys, I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this. Okay? Make a note.
We're recording it, so, you know.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, that's, when it comes to people's personal life, that it should be just that. It's personal. It's not public. There's no statement to be made.
Well, it happened in public, so yeah, it's good. You know,
and if he's gotten arrested, then that's a matter of public record.
Right. And shouldn't that be the statement? You read it. Why does he have to apologize for... you know,
Right.
it's just, to me, it's stupid.
I agree with you. If the only person he owes an explanation to is the person who bailed him out.
Which was his wife, who's
go.
okay with what happened, and, you know, so. But to me, that just, sometimes, you know, especially in the drama community, and people are like, "Oh, you owe me an apology." No, they don't. Nobody owes you anything. You're not entitled to an apology. It's just...
We're heading off into get off my lawn territory here.
Right. Yep, that was me this week.
Wes, please bail us out.
Please save us, right?
And I want to thank everybody for allowing me to follow that.
You could jump in and beat her to the punch. I mean, come on.
Compared to what you just heard, I did nothing.
Chicken.
No, I was pretty much calm this week. I didn't go do anything, didn't go see anything, so
Didn't get arrested?
thank goodness no. I
Are you
would have been
sure?
hearing about that from now on.
I want my apology.
Well, I want my $2, but I'm not going to get that either.
So that's it, huh?
That's it.
Okay. Well, I did go see something. I saw a little movie you might have heard of called Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of what now?
Skywalker.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't think you had.
Who's
Look at those
Skywalker?
guys.
What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
There you go.
An aluminum falcon?
You still
I
haven't watched.
thought it was white.
You still haven't watched the Robot Chicken stuff, have you?
Yeah, I was about to say you hadn't watched Robot Chicken's special.
Mm-mm.
Oh, God, come on.
I probably have, but I had to quit watching Robot Chicken when they took off the stupid monkey at the end. It was like, I ain't watching it again until they bring stupid monkey back.
Wow.
Anyway.
Just wow.
So is it any good?
I enjoyed it. I really did. I mean, I had some questions. I mean, there was a couple things I was going, okay, I'll let that pass and go on. But I mean, it hit a lot of the right notes. I thought it was a very nice ending. You know, as controversial as the last film was, and how some people didn't like the last one. I mean, I took my mother, who took me to see the very first one several years ago, and I posted something about this on Facebook. When it finished, she said, "I like this one a lot more than I did the last one." I said, "Yeah, I feel a lot better about this one than I did the last one, and I liked the last one. It wasn't a perfect film, and I saw a lot of that. It was like a lot of people going, "I love this film," and so it's not perfect, but it's a fun, it's a nice movie, and I enjoyed it. I really did.
Good.
That's cool. We've been trying to get tickets, 2 seats together, and we can't get tickets till after Christmas.
I lucked out and got them a couple of days in advance. I mean, I didn't go opening day or the night before. This is actually the first main Star Wars film that I've not seen on opening day since the very first one. You know, Empire, Jedi, the prequels, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, I had seen opening day or with the last two the night before, which I was thinking about that the other day. When the hell this trend started? Because with the prequels, it was the midnight. It was, there was the midnight. You know, it opened, the movie opened on a Friday, but you can go see it right at 12:01 or midnight.
Yeah, a couple of years ago they started bumping that up to like 10 p.m.
Well, like now it's
6.
And now
yeah.
it's
7.
Yeah.
6 or
I
7.
say one of them went to the first showing of it. That's why I told him it doesn't come out till tomorrow. How are you seeing it this evening? Because I'm with you. Usually it was like a midnight showing or, but...
Or actually opening day when the theaters open at, say, 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is the first one since the first one that I did not see on opening day, but I did see it opening weekend, so,
Close enough.
But, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm not, I'm not upset about it. I mean, it's okay.
I for one, am outraged that you didn't go see it on opening day. Not really.
Well, I could have gone to the very late showing on Thursday night. I was like, no, I can't get out of work the next day. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they released the Mandalorian. They released it on Wednesday this week instead of Friday. And they said that it was because it was supposed to have a tie-in to the movie.
Okay.
So, it didn't. It didn't. Like I said, ugly babies for that episode, but instead, what they gave us was like a 20-second trailer clip. I was like, what the... I mean, why would you do that? I'm expecting to see something cool that I'm going to go watch this movie, and it didn't happen,
Okay,
Um,
we really do know why they do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But yeah.
I wasn't complaining about that. She's the one's complaining.
No. I wasn't aimed at anybody. I was just in general. We understand that.
I was complaining because, like I said, I don't think Disney Plus ever said, but like CBR and all the other comic book people out there were like, oh, you have to watch this episode so you can watch, it ties into the movie, and it didn't. So it was kind of like, huh.
Well, they obviously misread it. There was no way.
Yeah.
Because they're really not tied in except for the fact they're in the same universe.
Right. And that's it. And I was thinking that one of the people maybe would be, from the movie or something, but no. No.
I wouldn't know how that works since there's a 25-plus year gap between the show and the movie. So
is there?
Yeah.
So we've been trying to figure that out. And I won't say any spoilers for this series, but from them traveling from planet to planet and some things that happened, it now leads me to believe, yes, there's a vast amount of timeline that's being traveled here and not really.
The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Jedi. And it was established in The Force Awakens and consequently with Last Jedi, since it literally starts seconds after Force Awakens, that there's a 30-year time period between the Battle of Endor and the events of the two films.
Okay.
So there's roughly a 25-year gap between those two films, and then Rise of Skywalker is supposed to be some time after that. It's not really established.
Okay.
So, no, that was not one of my questions I had. There's a couple questions, a couple things that kind of got me thinking, and I'm still kind of processing because I've only saw it hours before this recording this episode, so I'm still processing it. But I did enjoy it, and I will admit, yes, I did shed some tears. The handling of Leia was perfect. I will say that much. With what little footage they had left over from essentially the first film, which they said they were going to do, they handled it perfectly. I was very surprised. I was very pleased.
Do you get what the outrage is right now?
Well, some of the outrage is just left over from the last film.
Yeah.
I can't really discuss it too much because it's really going into spoiler territory. If it's what I'm thinking, what the outrage is, because honestly, I've tried to stay off. I mean, I saw one spoiler, and I know there's like 2 or 3 Twitter accounts at least that, I mean, they even got on their avatar name saying, "I'm spoiling this freaking movie for you."
Oh, man.
And they literally have everything.
See, I have it blocked. I still see some.
Yeah.
But I've just from headlines, it looks like a lot of people are raging. Which makes me want to go see it even more because I'm like, why?
Well, I checked out one article after coming home, and I read it, and I was going, okay, you weren't paying attention because one of the questions was, why did this happen? And all I'll say is there's a cameo. And I said, you weren't paying attention because it was in the dialogue why that happened.
Yeah.
So you weren't paying attention. You were still kind of in the shock of this happening. But it was explained. It was explained. Like I said, I've got questions. I've got going. I don't understand how they went there. But what I would really love to do, and this will probably never ever happen, is I would love to read J.J. Abrams' original treatment for the trilogy, how he had things planned out, because Rian Johnson did a major left-hand turn with Last Jedi. I really wanted to see what he wanted to do. And then I also want to read what George had planned for these 3 films. I would love to read them and just compare and just kind of, just for my edification, whatever, it's my curiosity.
Yeah. I
would just kind of know. You know, I'm not one of these that says I need a particular cut of a film. You know, let me have the script. Let me have a freaking blog of, okay, here's the gist of what was going to happen. I'll be happy with that. If I can actually read it as a book, you know, here's the scripts or treatments or whatever, I would love to read that. I would be happy. I'm not demanding a goddamn 3.5 hour cut of a movie that probably wouldn't have saved the movie anyway.
I'm holding out for the Snyder cut on this one.
Have y'all heard that?
No.
That the Snyder cut of Justice League was going to be 3.5 hours.
Man.
And I'm like, boy, if this is from the same guy that brought us Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, I don't know if I want to sit through 3.5 hours.
Nope. I know that I don't want to sit through 3.5 hours.
I'm a fan, and I want it, and I don't get why everybody's like, release the cut. It's like, you know, I'm sorry for the problems. I don't even want to belittle that in any way at all, but I'm sorry for the personal problems he had during the filming of this movie. But whether he likes it or not, it happened. As a big corporation, you got to step in and go, oh, my God, we've got millions of dollars on the line here. We got to finish this. I understand what they did by bringing someone else in. But don't sit on the sidelines now and be all pissy and moany because they gave you the time you needed to heal. And, you know, now all of a sudden they're the bad guys because they won't release a cut of a movie that wasn't finished. Or they never would have brought another guy in, you know? So it's kind of like, dude, why don't you be grateful that they saw you were hurting and allowed you out of a contract to go and take care of family, you know? Instead, now it's release my cut.
I am so sorry I made that joke.
Sorry. It's just all over. And now that they want the George Lucas original cuts of Star Wars, it changes everything. Oh, quit crying. Be happy. This is what he wanted you to see. Be happy with that, you know? Quit crying.
You've got 4 different versions of this movie. Why are you complaining?
Right. But even J.J. Abrams did. He wanted to see the original cuts of those. Well, you know, from George's point, well, too freaking bad.
Why? Right. No. I mean, yeah, the answer is simple. No.
Right. No. That's not what I wanted you guys to see. That's not the opinion I wanted to leave you with, you know? So, yeah.
Well, I don't agree with all the stuff that George did, but, yeah.
Yeah.
It was because of George playing around that we got the whole Han shot first. So let's
right. And every single variation on that has come out has all been right. Lucas. So
I mean, he apparently with the first day of Disney Plus, we found out there's been another tweak to that scene. I'm like, holy crap! He won't leave it alone.
Yep. He won't.
So, I know.
Go ahead.
Have you ever drawn a picture and you looked at it and you're like, oh, not that line. So you erase it a little bit and then you redo it and then you erase a little more and you redo it. And no matter how much tweaking you do, you're just still not, it's not exactly what you wanted, you know? And I kind of think that's what he's done here. He's tweaked and tweaked and tweaked, and he knows how it plays in his head. It's just not looking that way on the screen yet, you know?
I understand what you're saying, but let's go with Bob Ross. He says after a point you got to leave it alone, otherwise it turns into mush.
It does. Yep.
Because
see, that's my hard part.
You messed it up with it. You mess with it too much.
Yep. But then when Disney was like, oh, hey, here's a pen. We're going to put these on a channel. Of course he's going to be like, okay, one more time. Just one more time. Let me.
I don't know when that particular tweak was made, but, you know, it just. Anyway.
Yeah.
I did see the film. I enjoyed it. Got to see the trailer for Wonder Woman and Black Widow. That was kind of interesting seeing them literally back to back.
Ooh. Exciting.
Mm-hmm. So next year's going to be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope so.
Alrighty, before we get into this week's discussion, I want to mention about our monthly Meet and Gabs, which we have every second Saturday of the month. Our next one will be Saturday, January 11th at 7 p.m. We have all the information on the website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You go there, go click on the events tab. What these are is every month we have an opportunity where geeks in the Dallas-Fort Worth area are encouraged to come out, meet us, and have some good food and some good conversation about anything that's going on in the world of universe of geekdom. And as always, we meet at Wing City, which is located at 1456 Beltline Road. That's in Garland, and the zip 75044. So by all means, come join us. That is also another opportunity, if you so inclined, to donate comics to the charity that we're working with, Comic Books for Kids. We help them out assisting giving kids all age and teen rated comics. They have to be new or like new to kids that are in hospitals and cancer centers. So if you have some books that you'd like to donate, by all means, come bring them to us. We'll forward them on. If you'd like to help them out financially, they do need money to ship books across the United States and in Canada. We do have a tab on our website. It's CB4K. It has all the information and links to their website as well. And there's also a online store where you can buy some of the books that have their special variant covers. And they have one coloring book right now that has some original art from some of the big names in the comic industry. And there's a second volume coming sometime soon that has a very impressive list of creators that are supplying original art. So just keep your eye on that, because when that comes out, that's going to be a one to get. These are $10, and of course all the proceeds go to the charity. So by all means, check all that out, and hopefully we'll see you in January. Alrighty. I do have an announcement toward the end of the show that I will be putting out. So just be apprised of that. Okay. For this week, we're doing another casting call. I do apologize. This is a scheduling error on my part. This was meant to be for January, but got some wiring crossed over it, but that's okay.
Yeah, we had to jiggle the schedule quite a bit in this time frame, so yeah. You know, these things happen.
Yeah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what we tend to do, it's usually every couple months, we'll do a casting call for a comic-related movie or show. Most have existed, but some of them, like in the case of today's casting call, is just one that I've kind of picked out and said, okay, this is going to exist, so let's do this. And for this, I thought it would be interesting to do a secret society of supervillains as a DC Universe streaming show. With that said, we are going to go ahead and cast this series. And who would like to go first? And who's the first character you are casting?
Oh, I'll go first.
Alrighty.
I think I'm going to start. So this is completely behind the scenes stuff, but I'm going to start at the bottom of our list.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with Captain Comet.
Okay.
Just because he strikes me as an interesting character.
Right. And before you start, let me preface this, because I probably should have done this. I basically did the cast based off the series from the 70s. And Captain Comet at that point he'd come back from space and was basically befriended by the villains, because he didn't know they were bad guys till he found out pretty quick. And then basically the rest of the series was him battling them. So I was kind of playing along the lines of him maybe kind of acting as a kind of an infiltrator. That was kind of my thinking for the series of how he would kind of work in, and then maybe at some point it's revealed, and then kind of go.
And then he turns and punches the guy next to him, basically.
Then it kind of turns into a little bit more of a traditional good guys versus bad guy type of thing. So that was kind of my thinking. So I do apologize, Mike. Go ahead.
No, that's cool. That's helpful because, to be honest, I'm not super duper familiar with the Secret Society here. Mm-hmm. So that actually helps quite a bit. I mean, it doesn't alter who I picked for this.
Right.
Because I actually wanted to pick somebody who, and I did not do this with all of them, but for Captain Comet, I wanted to pick somebody who did kind of seem to come out of nowhere. So I wanted to pick somebody who hasn't really had a starring role in any of the current superhero stuff lately. Mm-hmm. So I chose Chris Pine. I mean, still leading man type guy, but hasn't really been in any of the comic movies so far. I guess he was in Wonder Woman, but he's
also
not really a super guy. He's not.
Right.
I mean, Steve Trevor's not a superhero. He's just in the military. He's just a guy. Yeah. I thought it would be fun to give him a chance to fly a little here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's cool.
I mean, he does have the superhero look. He really does.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
Yeah, he's got the looks to pull it off. He's got kind of the demeanor. He's actually a pretty dang good actor. If you get past some of his really obvious roles and get to some of the less obvious roles, he can act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I almost picked him for somebody else on the list.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you still could have.
Yeah, I could have. I may change it.
All right, who's next?
No changes.
No take backs.
Yeah,
no take backs.
All our choices are locked now.
Yeah.
For me,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Captain Comet, I kind of led heavy into a previous movie. An anti-war movie. And for Captain Comet, I chose Casper Van Dien.
Ooh.
Oh, all right, yeah.
You chose who?
Casper Van Dien.
Ah, okay.
He has the look of somebody that could either take control or be duped by anybody and everybody. So that's where I went with him.
like it.
Yep.
I could see it.
Not doing mine mainly cosmetic like I always do. I don't know how I missed Captain Comet on the list. I probably need to get my eyes checked again, especially after the whole black hole thing, but
You're the only one who hasn't let that go yet, you know.
I'm still like, how did I do that? I mean, but totally cosmetic, and I'm not too aware of Captain Comet, so I will go with John Bernthal. Just like I said, cosmetic. He kind of looks like him, and he plays a good lead role. I think he did really good in Punisher, and also in The Walking Dead. But talk about getting duped. Oh man, that was him in The Walking Dead. So he can do it.
Dang. All right.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. For me, I went with someone. I can see what you're talking about with cosmetic, and I'm thinking about it now. I may have gone that way. I like him as an actor. I think he could do it. Matter of fact, there was a lot of people wanting this guy to play Superman, and I still think he can do it.
Nick Cage?
Sure.
Just kidding.
Right.
John
Forget
Hamm.
Snyder cut. We want the Cage cut.
See, yeah, I actually thought about him for this too. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie. So I obviously I think he'd be a good choice for it.
Mm-hmm.
He was one that I had in mind when I was looking at this list, and I somehow managed to not cast him. I'm not entirely sure how I did that, but there we go.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's going to sound weird to say this, but he has a very strong face to where he could pull off a good superhero role. I could see him as Superman when you said that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Who's next on the list?
All right. So we're going with Funky Flashman next.
Okay.
And I like I said, I wasn't super familiar with this group, but I was reading about this Funky Flashman guy, and I'm like, wow, this is an interesting. I can see where people got a little conspiratorial about them putting this guy in basically to be Stan Lee, just because he seemed to be. I mean, they even went so far at one point as to make him a used car salesman. I mean, and yeah, so I found that it's just to me, the idea of this character is interesting to me. I think it seems like a long way to go to make a point. Whether this whole Stanley thing is true or not, which I'm not going there, but so given the look and given kind of the range, I think you would kind of need to pull off a role like this, I picked Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
Because I can totally imagine buying a used car from Justin Timberlake.
Interesting.
Well, he's kind of got that funky,
well, he's
like
got,
Flashman did.
Yeah, he's kind of got that quick-witted charisma thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And a great sense of humor, and picks up on the joke pretty easily. And I'm not entirely sure. I haven't watched a lot of his stuff, but I get the feeling from some of the stuff I have seen him in that he can act a little bit. So I thought it would be fun. And if nothing else, he could break into song and derail everything. It'd be fun.
That throw him off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Bless.
On this one, I've got a choice, but then I look at all the other people I have listed, because I'm sorry, I went through the article and just about named everybody in the article, all sets, all villains that were listed. But on this one, I don't know why. But I just felt like somebody to play a character that's to me was really based on Stan. I went with Jake Busey.
Interesting.
I just felt like he's got a feel about him where he can be your best buddy or your worst enemy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it.
Yep.
I think it would bring an interesting dimension to the role.
Okay, Liz.
Well, now I kind of think that my pick is totally off because all of my looking up, I didn't get the Stanley reference, but I got the funky, hippie kind of guy. And I know it's going to be crazy, but before Fantastic Four, this guy played in some really good drama roles where he was funny and kind of the funky person. So I went with Michael B. Jordan. Totally not Stanley.
No, but it could still work just fine. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just from
see it.
the funky vibe that I picked up on. But there was, I wish I could remember the name of the show I saw him in. But yeah, it was a TV show, and like I said, he kind of played the hippie, laid back, funky guy,
Oh, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
With my choice, I kind of went with someone who can show that he can be spineless at times and can be a joke, but also could be very sinister and calculating and cold. He can do the full gambit. My choice is Bryan Cranston.
Ooh. Oh,
I do have him cast.
You're going with intensity on this one. I like it.
Mm-hmm. I could see him doing that, though.
Yeah.
Very versatile actor.
Yes, he is.
You'll see where I have him later.
Dun, da, da.
Dun, dun, dun. But like you said, he's played a little bit of everything. He's very broad range. He can be serious, he can be badass, he can be funny.
Yep. He could probably do it all at once, too.
Yep.
Which would be really fun to see.
Right.
Okay. Next, Mike.
Okay, we're moving up to Star Sapphire now. And this is actually a character I have seen done a couple of different ways. And honestly has been done several different, even more than I've seen. So there's a lot of choices to choose from for this. I didn't necessarily have a specific type, one of the Star Sapphires in mind, but I kind of went with more of a look and just kind of an attitude. So I went with Jenna Dewan.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Oh, I like that.
That's viable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next.
For Star Sapphire, I was tossing. How about Zendaya? A very young actress, but somebody that's logged some time both in movies and television.
Yeah.
Okay, if she can do MJ, she could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't see that Mary Jane as being a focal point for someone's career. Hopefully not. But I think that she can definitely act her way out of a paper bag. So
There you go.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, Liz.
All right. This is actually one that I was more familiar with, and I always, when I think of Starfire, I think of her as cute and quirky and sometimes a little spacey. So when I think of cute and quirky, my mind automatically goes to another redhead, Felicia Day. Just cute little package, and she can play the spacey part pretty good, or she can be the smart one if she wants to be,
Okay.
But I thought she would do a good job. Plus, she's got that little pixie nose. Like Amanda Connor drew it herself.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. This is one I kind of struggle with a little bit. That it so happened that I caught something that she was in recently. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, kind of like the attitude. She can probably do it. I went with Felicity Jones.
Okay.
All right. Could see that.
Good. That's a good choice.
That is.
Okay, Mike, so I guess the next one will be Felix Faust.
That was my plan, yeah.
Alrighty.
And so this is where I'm betting we're all going to have very different picks because immortals are hard to cast. It is very difficult. It's very easy when you see someone, oh, this guy's old. Let's pick an old guy for this. But that's not what an immortal is, boys and girls. So I wanted to pick somebody who kind of had, I don't want to say a generic look, but someone who an actor you could just as easily see in something really modern and in some sort of like older period piece, just kind of interchangeably. So I went with James Marsden. So, right, he's not super old, but I think he can probably act well enough to give that kind of that kind of old soul personality type feel in the role. I think because you definitely are going to need something like that. And if you can find somebody under 40 to do that, then you're winning. Honestly,
That's true.
I mean, I get that Marsden is at least 40 at this point, but he's still kind of got that youngish look to him.
Yeah. Where they could age him up or down.
Right, and honestly, you don't need to. Is the deal. That's the great thing about Immortal is that he doesn't look like he ages. So you could stick him in a scene from the 1700s, and he would look exactly the same. It would just be a costume change for him. It's not like he's going to look a lot younger then, because he's much older than that anyway. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
You too.
Okay, Les.
Okay. Faust has always been one of my favorite characters since I first saw him in Justice League. And he's appeared in so many different comics. For this one, I was looking maybe David Tennant, because what I've seen him do in the Harry Potter movies, I just felt he is a pretty good fit for the character.
Well, and he's another one, like Mikey was saying, that has that younger looking face.
Yeah.
Although he's older.
Yeah, he kind of looks younger than he really is, and I think that's a cool thing to get if you can get it in a role like this. Yeah, I like it. I would have gone with him just straight off of Doctor Who, but yeah, you mentioned the Harry Potter stuff. Yeah, that just adds another element to it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that choice.
Okay, Liz.
All right. Well, I went with old guy.
That's okay. It's perfectly okay. Like I said, I knew there would be different interpretations here. That's fine.
Well, and the only reason I did is because they had talked about casting him before as Felix Faust in Constantine. And when they mentioned it, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay. And that is Mark Margolis. He was also in Breaking Bad as the old guy in the wheelchair who dinged the bell. But, I mean, the voice and everything to me just would be dead on. And he's got that. He can be mean or he can dial it back a little bit too.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
With my pick, when I kind of started going through this list, and I was kind of looking at images of actors, and I was like, oh, okay. And this is going to be a very similar role to him. He's done a very similar role recently. And so my choice was Robert Carlyle.
Ooh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Robert Carlyle anyway, but
Right.
yeah, he does Sinister really well.
He
Yep.
does. He was like amazing on Once Upon a Time. He played Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, man.
it's going to be essentially a similar role.
Yep.
It really is.
I like that one.
Yep, I do too.
And to me, he looks like he could be David Tennant's dad.
Okay.
That's kind of so there, old man.
Uh-huh.
They're probably the same age, though, huh?
I don't know. Carlisle's been around a while. I bet he's a bit older.
Carlisle is 58, and Tennant is 48.
Oh,
There you go.
cool.
A very close-knit family to have birthday that close.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm,
He started young.
I don't know. Maybe more like a weird uncle sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna move on from that.
Yes, please.
No, let's discuss this more.
No, I don't want to.
Okay, Mikey, who's next?
Okay, so next is Kronos. And this is another one I was kind of reading up on because I really didn't have any idea who he was. And so the impression I got was that this is a guy who really kind of just doesn't fit. I mean, he's kind of not particularly good when he starts out in his career as a petty thief, and he's kind of not, I mean, and ends up finding ways to do a lot of interesting stuff. But he seems kind of like an outsider to me. And I probably am going against type a bit with this because of that. But the person that put me in the mind of was Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because I mean, this is a guy who doesn't necessarily have superpowers at the beginning, and so I thought it would be interesting. I mean, just in terms of letting him kind of develop the character out, I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit of a weird choice up front.
That's doable, though.
Yeah. I could see that.
Okay. Well,
For this character, somebody that has a quirky side, I went and chose Ben Stiller. He of Mystery Men.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Here,
I like him.
Here, I thought my choice was going to be off the wall. Apparently not.
interesting that you mentioned Mystery Men. Mystery Men will be. There may be another cast member to be on the list here at some point in the future.
Ooh.
I do like that though. I do like that choice.
Teaser.
Hmm? Liz?
I didn't get one for Kronos, but I think if you take Les's choice and Mikey's choice and put them together, it would be Josh Gad. So I'll go with Josh Gad.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of went with a different path, as you have already probably figured out. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how I came about this. I'd like the look, and I like the intensity that he's brought in some of his roles, and that's kind of, I guess that's where I went with this list. I went with Luke Evans.
Ooh. There you go. Now that's a different take. Cool. Yeah, he can do intense, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I obviously went a certain direction with this cast.
You did, and I mean it's cool. I like your version too. Your version is definitely darker and more. I don't want to say moody because that's not quite the word I'm looking for, but it's close. I also don't want to keep using the word sinister. So
Yeah.
But there's definitely a feel going here, a vibe.
Well, I don't mean to be doing dark, grim, and gritty, because God knows
DC doesn't need that anymore, right? They need to get the hell away from that. It's killing them.
But this is a series of villains, so I mean they can't be, I mean, you got to make them somewhat relatable, but they're villains, they're bad guys. You really don't want them to succeed, so I mean you got to do something. So
right.
Okay, next.
Okay, next up is Poison Ivy, and I really think this is it's gonna be interesting to hear what you guys pick for this. I have to admit, for one, I clearly had kind of an age range in mind for this whole group, because it seems like nearly everybody I've picked has been kind of in the same age range. But so I'm obviously looking at not super young people for this. But I'm not gonna lie, I went with a really obvious choice for Poison Ivy. I went with Jessica Chastain. If nothing else, she can act and she can bring that intensity. She's been in a lot of serious dramatic roles, and I think it would be interesting to kind of maybe see her try to have some fun with Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I like it.
I do too. That's a good choice.
That is a good choice. Definitely got to look for it too.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the really obvious part.
Mm-hmm. I missed her.
For this role, I was torn between Mila Jovovich and Laura Vandervoort. This was a character that you are needing a sensuous looking woman, and you're not always going to find that in the movies. You're going to find beautiful women in movies, but to find one that has the projection of sensuality, I think, is most important.
Yeah, and not everybody realizes that that's two different things, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, either one of those would definitely be interesting. Interesting in different ways too.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, Liz.
I went with somebody who's already a superhero and in the DC world. but I went with Danielle Panabaker. I think she's got that, I don't know, the charisma, the way she carries herself. And she's also very good at being two different people, too, which Poison Ivy sometimes can be. Sometimes you get the sweet side, and sometimes you get the killer plant side.
Sometimes you get Ivy, sometimes you get Poison.
And
Right.
she has played a character that has been a commander of plants. She had the part in Super High. What was the high school movie she did?
Oh, yeah. I had forgotten about that one. But yeah, I think it was Super High.
I thought that was a James Franco movie.
Well,
I knew somebody would get it.
this is the one where the high school was for superheroes.
Yeah.
Sky High.
Sky High. I was sitting there thinking Super High doesn't sound quite right, but I couldn't remember. Yeah, Sky High I think is what it was.
Oh, it's Sky High. Yep.
Cool.
In 2005.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm not sure. I'll be honest. When I was looking at this list, this is the name that popped up. I still like it. I still think she'd be a good choice. It would be an interesting choice. She does have a very small tie to the DC universe. She also has a tie to the Marvel universe too. I went with Adrian Palicki.
Ah.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's just that's kind of the first thing that kind of popped in my head. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, that could work. So
I think so too.
I can see it.
She's another one who kind of has the two sides, you know.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Next.
So next we've got Wizard. And I looked I looked this guy up, and I looked at his background, and I was like, really? I was a little surprised at how kind of I hesitate to use the term unoriginal, but I'm having trouble thinking of a better one. It just seemed a little too cliche for my taste. And then I figured, all right, well, if that's the way it's going to be, then I'll pick somebody who can just freaking run with it in that direction and just go nuts. So I picked Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Finally, somebody got some brains.
Right.
Wow, that's a great choice.
That is.
And that's somebody that could take it and run.
Oh, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Les.
I looked at this and was thinking of somebody that was kind of devious at heart. And I looked and saw Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
and
after
I just felt like that would be a fit.
What is it? The Snicket Unfortunate Events. He did really good in that one too. Almost a little too comfortable being evil.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, Liz.
All right. Well, this one they're actually getting ready to cast for Shazam 2. And they picked Ron Cephas Jones. And I thought, that's pretty cool, and that would be a really good actor for that. But I went with Giancarlo Esposito. To me, since he has such a hard name, to me, he'll always be the Obama actor, Because to me, he looks like Obama. I mean, down to a T, he looks like Obama. So, since I can't pick Obama, I will pick
Oh, wow.
Oh, damn.
Giancarlo
Wow.
Esposito.
Okay.
That was a joke, guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ouchies.
he's a pretty good actor too, though. He can be funny. He was funny in Once Upon a Time. But then there was also a show, it was like Survivors Under the Dome kind of movie, that he was a pretty bad guy, and he played it pretty good. Yeah.
I can see it.
And he's also in the Star Wars galaxy now.
Ooh.
Okay. I'll go ahead and admit I did this casting because I'd want to see him do this. I want to see him just kind of take this role and do whatever he wants with it. I'm a big fan. I want to say he's underrated, but I don't think he's underrated. Maybe I don't want to even say he's underappreciated because I think anyway. He's one of these actors that he's one of these character actors that you just anything he's in, you're going, oh, he's good. And here's where my Mystery Men connection comes in. William H. Macy.
Ah,
Okay.
cool.
I like him too. Frank. Do any of y'all watch Shameless?
No. I will state for everyone, nobody else watches Shameless.
He's like one of those guys you love to hate. You know, alcoholic, drug addict, just a whole freaking mess, you know. I like that one.
Yep, it's hard to go wrong with him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
All right. And the final role is
Yeah, the one that I was intentionally putting off till the end because I think it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Lex Luthor. Got to have him for this.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do with him is, I think, completely up in the air. The way I went with this was I wanted to go with the kind of the smoldering intensity thing, but someone who can also do the talking very well, the good at persuading people of things. Essentially charisma, but not in the same way that Funky Flashman does it.
right.
Definitely charisma with definitely something to back it up. And the person I went with is Shamar Moore,
Ooh. Yeah.
the guy from the SWAT show.
Mm-hmm.
He was on one
From
of the other
Criminal
Criminal
Minds.
Minds. Yeah, that was the other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice. Yeah, I like
Yep.
it.
I like that one too.
Good choice.
All righty, Les.
For Luthor, I went a little bit older. I took Michael Ironside. The man's got a gruff acting ability, but he's very convincing in his roles.
Oh, he's professionally a bad guy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's his entire career. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I mean he obviously does it well.
Yeah.
This is a deep cut, but was it Sequest? Because I remember that it was only on the air for a couple of years, and the first year, I think it was Roy Scheider was the captain.
It was, and then they switched him out in the second season.
Yeah,
I heard
and they gave it to Michael Ironside. So he's not he's like, I mean, he's an authority figure for sure, but not a bad guy in any way.
Right.
And he did it really well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can totally see. I mean, if you take that guy, I mean, who can go from the worst hoodlum you can think of to that guy? Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'm down.
Yeah. That is a good one.
Okay, Liz.
All right. And this is where I picked Bryan Cranston. I think he can do the psychotic funny pretty darn good. And I think that's Lex Luthor, Can be persuasive when needs to be. Can also be that craggy, wise guy, And he don't look half bad with his head shaved.
I'm a fan, so I'm not going to say
Yeah,
no for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, I like him because I could definitely see him as Luthor too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was there was a push for Cranston to play Luthor in these last films. So I mean, obviously,
Huh.
so
There you
well,
go.
I
Didn't know
mean,
that.
in the general public, not necessarily in Hollywood. So I mean, obviously, other people see it as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think he could pull it off.
Oh yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah.
no doubt
Oh
about
yeah.
it.
Yeah. My choice is like my choice for Felix Foss. He's been kind of doing it already. Y'all, because you're talking about the persuasive, you talk about the talker, you talk about the kind of the commanding, but he can also throw out a joke, a sarcastic line or so, or something like that. The smart ass line. God, he's done it his entire career, and like I said, he's doing it in his current role. I believe the show's still on. James Spader.
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I believe Blacklist is still on, and I see so much of a Luthor in him,
Hmm.
in that character.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
That is a good choice.
Hmm.
very fine.
He's another one I missed.
Well, that's what's fun about this. We get to see what we missed.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, those are some great choices all around.
Those are.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this. We would love to hear some of your picks for some of the casting. If you have any you'd like to throw our way, by all means do that. Contact us through social media, Facebook and Twitter, or just shoot us an email. Well, just let us know. We would love to hear what your choices are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We would.
Alrighty, on that note, we're going to take a quick break and come back for our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off this week is Liz.
All right. For my first pick, this is going to be one for the younger readers, although the older readers will enjoy it too. It's called Diana, Princess of the Amazons. This will follow 11-year-old Diana, because of course she's not Wonder Woman yet, but it kind of shows how she's having a hard time being the only kid, on the island. So it says this book will talk about making mistakes, learning the hard way, and growing up to become a hero. So I think if you have the younger readers or you just enjoy Wonder Woman, this should be a really cute book with a cute little moral behind it. But actually not bad. $10 for a paperback.
Yep, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
sounds nice.
Yep.
I like the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Alrighty, so my first pick is not for younger readers, um, not surprisingly. From Dynamite Entertainment, I am going with a adaptation of the novel Live and Let Die by Ian Fleming. Dynamite is really running with this Bond stuff, man. I'm saying. Fortunately, they're doing a really good job of it, but I like the idea that they're actually looking back to the novels as opposed to just resting on the movies or something silly like that, because there's a lot of weird stuff in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was a better story this was a better novel than movie, which is why I'm glad they're looking at the novel. Because the movie was a little strange and very much a product of its time, whereas the novel was maybe just as strange, but well, maybe the deal is that it was a product of a different time. But it's a really interesting story, and I am looking forward to seeing a cool comics adaptation of it.
I haven't read the novel, but the movie, it's got to be. It was trying to capitalize on the blaxploitation that was going pretty high at the time. So I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the novel, so I don't know how close it was to the novel. But
it was not nearly as blaxploitation, because obviously it was written in the 50s, so
right.
It wasn't quite that. But right. It was definitely an interesting, like, crime type thing, in the usual Fleming style. The Bond books, I don't know if I want to go off on this tangent, but I really like the Bond books, and I've been a huge fan of the movies for a long time. Maybe a little less so recently, but so the whole, I mean, the movies are great action movies, and they've got a little bit of mystery, especially early on, and some intrigue. The novels are a little different, but still just at least as good, and in some cases a lot better than the stories you get from the movies. So I won't go any further than that, because it'll go on all night. But
right,
yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yep.
Yeah, it was on my radar as well. So I am next, and for my first choice, it's a one-shot from Antarctic Press called Corraptor. And the synopsis is what got me. Now I'll just read it verbatim. Okay? The American West, early 19th century. Under the orders of the wealthy, greedy Mr. Joshik, both the local Native Americans and herd of bison are being driven to extinction. Then Gonda, a warrior of the Kiowa tribe, appears with a warning. The overhunting of bison has awakened a living force of nature, the kaiju Corraptor. Armed only with an iron spear, can one man save the Kiowa lands from the double threat of decimation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's definitely different.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm not really a kaiju fan, but that's cool.
Well, I'm not either, but I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
It's definitely something different enough to go, I want to check this out, and it's a one shot, so.
That's really interesting.
It is.
I like the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Les, you're next.
My first choice is Pink Lemonade Holiday Grab Bag from It's Alive. The writer and artist is Nick Cagnetti. And this is a character, I'm sorry to say, I know nothing about. But in this book, you have short stories about the character Pink Lemonade, and that includes how she receives her name, a motorcycle crash where she nearly escapes serious injury. This is the one that I thought was funny. A run-in with an angry French spaceman named Skip who has lost his dog. A bar full of pirates that turn out to be quite friendly. And on and on and on, including her first ever letter to Santa. I don't know what the age group is on this. It does not give me an idea. But I'm going to say it's going to be similar to reading a Pikachu comic book. It's going to be insane and inane at the same time.
The kind of crazy you can only find in manga.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome.
It'll be backwards too.
There's that.
Oh.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Alrighty, Liz, you're next.
All right. For my second pick, it's actually a Christmas tale. Although technically by the time you guys hear this, it'll be after Christmas. But somebody kills all of Santa's reindeers, like brutally murders all of them. So, of course, he's pissed, right? So he centers his vengeance and all of his Christmas magic on a little town, and it's up to a librarian and some orphans to show him the true meaning of Christmas before he brutally slaughters everyone. Nice and Christmassy, yay! So they say not only is this story included, but there will also be backup stories featuring Frostbite, the zombie snowman. So sounds like a really cute book.
And what is it called again?
It's called Kringle. I'm sorry, Kringle. It's a trade out by Source Point Press.
Cool.
Yep.
Teaching Santa the meaning of Christmas. Okay.
Yep. Before he kills them.
Before he, yeah. Murders
I'm thinking it might be Grandma. She got tired of being ran over.
Wow. We had to go there, didn't we? I was perfectly content to leave it with the zombie snowman. But no.
Who's this we you're talking about?
I was not an actual we.
Yeah. All right,
It's
Mike.
a double wow.
Yeah.
Okie
Go ahead.
dokie. Yep. So my second choice is from Image Comics, and I am picking Philadelphia #2. The first issue of this was really interesting. I was actually a little surprised at how good it was. Not because I didn't think it was going to be good, but because I'm not going to admit I was a little put off by the title. But so the deal is this guy named Jimmy, his father was murdered, and he puts the pieces together and realizes that there are vampires involved. And so it's an interesting kind of darker inner city type story, which has a very different villain than you might expect in a story like that, which makes it interesting. It turns out it's a really interesting story so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how deep the rabbit hole goes. Really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this one's kind of piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to go back and get the first issue and then get caught up. Alrighty, I am next, and for my second choice, I'm going with Star Wars #1. This is a new run from Marvel, and this takes place after the events of Empire Strikes Back. So we're dealing with all the ramifications of the film and trying to go from there. And this is being written by Charles Soule, with art by, at least on the first issue, the art's by Jesus Saez. So this ought to be pretty cool.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Wes.
My second choice comes from IDW, and it is The Mighty Elvis, a graphic biography. I think that explains what we're looking at here. It is a graphic novel. And I kind of chose this also with the fact that on the 8th of January, we will be celebrating Elvis's birthday again.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was about to mention, the timing's great with his birthday coming up, so that I'm sure that was done on purpose. So, but,
More than likely.
so,
Cool though.
so yeah, it's definitely very cool. And our honorable mention this week is...
Honorable mention comes from DC, and it is Wonder Woman, Warbringer. This is by Leigh Bardugo, and it speaks of Wonder Woman wanting to prove herself as a legendary warrior. When the opportunity comes, she throws away her chance of glory and breaks Amazon law. Obviously, this is going to get her exiled, and it sends us through an adaptation from Louise Simonson and Kit Seaton to bring it forward. So I'm pretty ready for this one too.
Yeah, if Louise Simonson's involved,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be good.
Pretty dang cool.
Yep. Alrighty. Any special shout-outs this week?
Nope. Not from
No.
me.
Not here.
Okay, just a programming note. There will be no new episode next week.
Yep. We're taking a week off.
Taking a week off. So, but we will be back January 12th, right? January 12th, and be fully rested. And man, this 2020 is looking like a really good year for us. We've got some special stuff lined up already. Matter of fact, I have 2 guests in the first month. Is that right?
Do we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. I didn't realize that. Yeah. No, I knew the
Yeah.
one. I
Yeah,
forgot
we
about
got
that.
we got 2 in the first month.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We do.
That's kind of rare for us. So, but got a lot of special stuff planned for next year. Got us. February's going to have a special theme, and we'll actually have something else planned that will come out in February, a special episode as well.
That's the plan at this point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of good stuff. Of course, horror month in October, and this, that, and the other, and who knows else what we'll come up with. So, but just be advised, no new episode January 5th, but we'll be back the 12th. So just take that week to go back and listen to the other 190 episodes that we have. If you haven't listened to them, here's your opportunity to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, if you can't get through all 190 of them in 1 week, we'll understand.
Yeah,
Yep.
that
We'll give you 2.
Grab a few, it'll be fine.
yeah. All right. So, go ahead and say right now, Happy New Year. If you are going out to celebrate, please be careful. A lot of stuff goes on New Year's Eve, as y'all know. So just be careful. And
Yeah, there's people out there for
there's
one thing.
people out there. Yeah.
Oh, God. It's crazy.
And
It's amateur night.
I know every year Mothers Against Drunk Driving offers free ride homes, and I think Uber does too. So don't take the chance. Call for a ride.
Yep. So have a good time, but please get home
Be smart about it.
safely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, be smart about it. So, all right, and hope everybody has a wonderful 2020. So, Happy New Year to y'all. So, go ahead with our regular shout-outs, Dan. First to Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be part of their podcast network. I'll have a link in the show notes to peruse some of the other fine podcasts that we're allied with. Definitely appreciate their support as always, as well as support of Potter and Family on Twitter, who have been sharing the word of the fellowship for all these years. We do appreciate your support as always. So I definitely want you to go check them out. The best way to do that is to go to Twitter and do a search, hashtag Potter and Family, one word, and just scroll through whatever catches your fancy. By all means, download that episode, check them out. I also want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. Definitely go check out their music. We'll have a link in the show notes to their couple albums that they have put out. Thank you guys for your support as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for your support as always. 2019 was an incredible year for us, and we do appreciate your support. You've made it a wonderful year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we love doing this anyway. We love talking and doing this, but to see that y'all have been checking this out and coming back and week after week, that means a lot to us. We do appreciate your support as always. I know I say that every week, and you probably get tired of hearing that. But we do appreciate your support. We'd love to hear from you. Any kind of feedback that you, questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, whatever, by all means, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. And there are several ways you can do that. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form that you can fill out there. I've already mentioned our Facebook page. If you have not already, follow us there. What we have, our events are set up there as well as what's on the website. We're obviously on Twitter, @Fellowship Geeks. By all means, follow us there if you'd like. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, please do. Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And wherever you download our episodes, it would be greatly appreciated if you would take a couple moments to rate and review our show. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye one more time for 2019?
Just Happy New Year and thanks, everybody.
Yep. See you next year.
We'll see you on the flip side.
Happy New Year, everybody. We do appreciate your support as always. Hopefully it's been a good year for you, and hope that 2020 is even a better year for you. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,